How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, January 6th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances that took place yesterday on Wednesday, January 5th, taking a step back and looking at where we are at the top of the calendar year. Starting with football, the only college football game that's left to be played is the College Football Championship, as every other team except for Georgia and Alabama's football season has come to a close. In the NFL, we are approaching the last Saturday of the regular season. That's the next day of football. And taking a look at what's going on with basketball. In college basketball, most teams are starting to enter their conference schedules, and in the NBA we are about reaching the midway point. And speaking of midway points, the soccer seasons abroad are reaching their second half of their seasons now that we're at the top of the calendar year, as we are also in the midst of cups or tournaments within each and every country. But of course, I'll get into those one league at a time. First, starting with the collegiate basketball ranks, starting with the 10th ranked team in the nation, the Michigan State Spartans hosted the unranked Nebraska Cornhuskers. 10th ranked Michigan State would end up beating Nebraska 79-67. They won this matchup by 12 after they outscored Nebraska by 8 in the second half. The 10th ranked Spartans were led in scoring by their starting guard Max Christie out of Illinois. He will go on to finish with 21 points in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 9 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 10th ranked Michigan State Spartans are now 13-2. They are 4-0 in the Big Ten as of right now, and with this loss, unranked Nebraska is 6-9. They are 0-4 in the Big Ten, so looking for their first conference win. Looking at the 11th ranked team in the nation, the Iowa State Cyclones hosted the 25th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders. Iowa State would beat Texas Tech 51-47. They won this matchup by 4 after they outscored Texas Tech by 11 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 25th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders were led in scoring by their starting guard, Davion Warren out of Buffalo, New York. He finished with 12 points in 32 minutes. As he fouled out in that span, he shot 4 for 11 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the Cyclone side of this matchup, they would be led in scoring by their starting guard, Isaiah Brockington. He finished with 14 points and 9 rebounds in 38 minutes. He shot 5 for 16 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 11th ranked Iowa State Cyclones are now 13-1. They are now 1-1 in the Big 12, and with this loss, the 25th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders are 10-3 on their 2021-22 season. They are now 0-1 in the Big 12. Looking at the 12th ranked team in the nation, the Houston Cougars went to Florida to face off against the USF Bulls. The 12th ranked Cougars would beat the unranked Bulls 83-66. Houston would win this matchup by 17 after they outscored South Florida by 14 in the second half. On the winning end, the Cougars would be led in scoring by their starting center, Josh Carlton out of Winterville, North Carolina. He finished with 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists in 26 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field and 8 for 12 from the foul line. With this win, the 12th ranked Houston Cougars are now 13-2. They are now 2-0 in the American Conference, and with this loss, the unranked USF Bulls are 5-8. They are 0-1 in the American Conference. Taking a look at the 15th ranked team in the nation, the Alabama Crimson Tide went to Florida to face off against the Gators, and then Alabama would end up beating Florida 83-70. They would win this matchup by 13 after they outscored Florida by 16 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 15th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide were led in scoring by their starting guard, Javon Quinterly, also their starting forward, Jawan Gary. Javon Quinterly would go on to finish with 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Gary finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 15th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide are 11-3. They are now 2-0 in the SEC. With this loss, the unranked Florida Gators are 9-4. They are 0-1 in the SEC. Jumping out now to the 18th ranked team in the nation, the Tennessee Volunteers hosted the unranked Ole Miss Rebels. Tennessee would outscore Ole Miss 15-9 in overtime to pull away with a 6-point win. They won this one 66-60. And on the winning end of this matchup, the Tennessee Volunteers would be led in scoring by their starting guard, Santiago Vescovi, out of Uruguay. He will go on to finish with 17 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in 42 minutes. Vescovi shot 5 for 12 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 18th ranked Tennessee Volunteers are now 10-3, as they are now 1-1 in the SEC. That's their first SEC win of the college basketball season. With this loss, the unranked Ole Miss Rebels are 8-5. They are 0-1 in the SEC this year. Last but not least, taking a look at what went down with the 19th ranked team in the nation, the Villanova Wildcats hosted the unranked Creighton Blue Jays. Villanova would end up beating Creighton 75-41. They won this matchup by 34 after they outscored Creighton by 14 in the first half and by 20 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 19th ranked Villanova Wildcats will be led in scoring by their starting guard, Justin Moore, out of Maryland. He will go on to finish with 22 points. He would also do all of this in 32 minutes as he shot 8 for 20 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 19th ranked Villanova Wildcats are now 10-4. They are now 3-1 in the Big East. With this loss, the unranked Creighton Blue Jays are now 10-4. They are now 2-1 in the Big East. Taking a look now at what went down in the NBA, looking at yesterday's pro basketball scores. Starting off in Charlotte, the Hornets hosted the Detroit Pistons, and the Hornets were able to beat the Pistons 140-111. The Hornets won this matchup by 29 after they outscored Detroit by 18 in the first quarter, 11 in the third quarter as well, and a combined 15 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Detroit Pistons would be led in scoring by their starting power forward out of Kentucky, Trey Lyles. He finished with 17 points and 7 rebounds in 24 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Charlotte Hornets would be led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench out of Kansas, Kelly Oubre Jr. He finished with 32 points and 6 rebounds in 24 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 9 for 14 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard out of Los Angeles, LaMelo Ball, will go on to finish with 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 12 assists in 30 minutes. He shot 4 for 11 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are now 20-19. That is currently the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've won 5 of their last 10 games. They trail the first place Chicago Bulls by 7 games in the entire conference. And with this loss, the Detroit Pistons are now 7-29. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference and the second worst record in the NBA. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games. They trail the 8th-seeded Charlotte Hornets by 11.5 games in the playoff race. Taking a look now at what went down in Orlando, the Magic hosted the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers would end up beating the Magic 116-106. They won this matchup by 10 after they went on to outscore the Magic by 11 in the fourth quarter to overcome their 1-point deficit going in. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Orlando Magic would be led in scoring by their starting point guard, Cole Anthony. He finished with 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists in 26 minutes. He shot 9 for 21 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 76ers would be led in scoring by their elite starting center out of Kansas, Joel Embiid. Embiid finished with 31 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 6 turnovers in 33 minutes. He shot 12 for 22 from the field and 7 for 10 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Tobias Harris, finished with 22 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 44 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt on the day. Their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Seth Curry, finished with 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 12 assists in 42 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Furkan Korkmaz, finished with 20 points and 5 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul foul line. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 21-16. That is the fifth best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 5 games. That is the second best winning streak in the Eastern Conference and the third best winning streak in the NBA. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. They trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by 5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 7-32. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference, and that is the worst record in the NBA for the time being. They've lost their last 7 games, which is the worst losing streak in the entire NBA. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They trail the 8th seed Charlotte Hornets by 13 games in the playoff hunt. Taking a look now at what went down in the nation's capital, out here in D.C., the Houston Rockets would end up beating the Wizards 114-111. They won this matchup by 3 after they outscored the Wizards by 4 in the second half. Their 4-point deficit being in the third quarter as well. It would end up being Kevin Porter Jr. to hit the game-winning 3 to win the game for the Houston Rockets. That'll be the big play of the night. On the losing end of this matchup, the Washington Wizards would be led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard, Bradley Beal. He finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 30 minutes. He shot 9 for 25 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and he would make all 6 of his free throw attempts. Their starting shooting guard, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, finished with 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. He would do all of this in 40 minutes as he shot 10 for 16 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt on the night. Their starting small forward, Kyle Kuzma, finished with 24 points and 9 rebounds, as well as 5 fouls in 44 minutes. He shot 9 for 20 from the field, and he made 6 of his 8 free throw attempts on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the Houston Rockets would be led in scoring by their second overall pick rookie shooting guard Jalen Green, and their starting center, Christian Wood. Jalen Green finished with 22 points and 6 rebounds in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, and he would make 4 of his 5 free throw attempts on the night. Christian Wood finished with 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, and he made all 6 of his foul attempts. With this win, the Houston Rockets are now 11-28. That is the worst record in the Western Conference, as they've won only 2 of their last 10 games. They trail the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers by 8.5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Washington Wizards are now 19-19. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 6 of their last 10. They trail the 8th seed Charlotte Hornets by half a game in the playoff push. Taking a look now at what went down in Boston, the Boston Celtics hosted the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs would beat the Celtics 99-97. They won this matchup by 2, as every single quarter was very close in this game. It did come down to the end. And on the losing end of this matchup, the Celtics would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, their former All-Star Jaylen Brown. Brown finished with 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 12 for 25 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum, finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists, as well as 2 blocks in 38 minutes. Tatum shot 6 for 20 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Spurs would be led in scoring by their starting point guard, DeJounte Murray. He finished with 22 points, 9 rebounds, 12 assists, and 3 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 11 for 21 from the field, and with this win, the San Antonio Spurs are now 15-22. That is the 10th best record in the Western Conference, as they've won 5 of their last 10 games. They trail the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers by 3.5 games outside the picture. With this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 18-20. That is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games as they trail the 8th seed Charlotte Hornets by 1.5 games. Taking a look at what's going on in Indianapolis now, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets would beat the Pacers 129-121. They won this matchup by 8 after they outscored the Pacers by a combined 21 points in the second half. They outscored the Pacers by 15 in the fourth quarter to come from behind and win. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Pacers were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis. He finished with 32 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, and 5 turnovers in 38 minutes. He would go on to shoot 10 for 14 from the field. He made his only 3-pointer of the night, and he shot 11 for 13 from the foul line. Their guard off the bench, Lance Stevenson, finished with 30 points and 5 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 12 for 19 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Brooklyn Nets would be led in scoring by their goated starting power forward, Kevin Durant. He finished with 39 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in 41 minutes. He shot 15 for 24 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. In his first game of the 2022 season, their elite starting point guard out of Duke, Kyrie Irving, finished with 22 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals in 32 minutes. Kyrie shot 9 for 17 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, James Harden, finished with 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field and 8 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the Brooklyn Nets are now 24-12. That is the second best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, and they trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by a game and a half in the conference. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are 14-25. That is the third worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost their last 6 games. That is the second worst losing streak in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA for that matter. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They trail the 8th seed Charlotte Hornets by 6 games in the conference. Taking a look now at what's going down in Dallas, the Dallas Mavericks hosted the surging hot Golden State Warriors. The Mavericks would end up beating the Warriors 99-82. They won this matchup by 17 after they outscored the Warriors by 11 in the second quarter and by 14 in the fourth. On the losing end of this matchup, the Warriors were led in scoring by their starting small forward, former number 1 overall pick Andrew Wiggins finished with 17 points and 2 steals in 33 minutes. Wiggins shot 7 for 13 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3 as well. Their goated starting point guard, Steph Curry, finished with 14 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 5 for 24 from the field, 1 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. He finished with 26 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 6 turnovers in 34 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and he shot 10 for 12 from the foul line. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are now 20-18. That is the 5th best record in the Western Conference. They've won their last 4 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. They now trail the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns by 9.5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Golden State Warriors are now 29-8. They are tied with the Phoenix Suns for the best record in the Western Conference, and for the NBA, for that matter, they are the lone 2 teams with a single-digit amount of losses. The Warriors have lost 3 of their last 10 games, as right now they and the Suns sit a game and a half ahead of the 3rd seed Utah Jazz for the time being. Taking a look now at what's going down in Milwaukee, the defending NBA champs Milwaukee Bucks hosted the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors would end up beating the Bucks 117-111. The Raptors won this matchup by 6 after they outscored the Bucks by 13 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Milwaukee Bucks would be led in scoring by their starting small forward, Chris Middleton. Middleton finished with 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and he shot 6 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Raptors would be led in scoring by their starting power forward, Pascal Siakam. The former most improved player of the year would finish with 33 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals in 42 minutes. He shot 13 for 23 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting small forward out of Indiana, OG Anunoby, finished with 22 points and 6 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 6 for 8 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Gary Trent Jr., finished with 22 points and 5 rebounds in 31 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 3 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Toronto Raptors are 18-7. That is the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've won their last 4 games. They've won 7 of their last 10, and at the moment they trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by 7 games in the conference. Taking a look now where the Bucks are with this loss, the Bucks are now 25-15. That is the 3rd best record in the East, as they've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 4 of their last 10. They trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by 2.5 games in the conference. Taking a look now, what went down in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Timberwolves would end up beating the Thunder 98-90. They won this matchup by 8 after they outscored the Thunder 30-10 by 20 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder were led in scoring by their starting guard out of Kentucky, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He finished with 19 points and 5 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 5 for 15 from the field and a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Minnesota Timberwolves were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Anthony Edwards. Edwards would go on to finish with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Patrick Beverley, finished with 20 points and 6 assists in 26 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their elite starting center, Karl-Anthony Towns, would finish with 17 points, 16 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 6 turnovers as he fouled out in 37 minutes. Karl-Anthony Towns shot 6 for 14 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 18-20. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference as they've won their last 2 games. They've won 5 of their last 10. They trail the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers by a game in the Western Conference, just like right outside the playoff picture. And with this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 13-24. That is the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference as they've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 5 of their last 10. They trail the 8th seed LA Clippers by 5 games in the West. Taking a look now at what went down in Denver, in the Mile High City, the Denver Nuggets hosted the Utah Jazz. The Jazz would end up beating the Nuggets 115-109. The Jazz won this matchup by 6 after they outscored the Nuggets by 9 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Denver Nuggets would be led in scoring by their elite starting center, the reigning NBA MVP from last year, Nikola Jokic. He finished with 26 points, 21 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 blocks, and 5 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Will Barton, finished with 20 points and 5 assists in 39 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Monte Morris, finished with 20 points in 29 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt for the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the Jazz were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Bojan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic finished with 36 points and 13 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 12 for 20 from the field, and he went 11 for 13 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, finished with 17 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 22 from the field and 1 for 9 from 3. With this win, the Utah Jazz are now 28-10. That is the 3rd best record in the Western Conference and the 3rd best record in the NBA for that matter. They've won their last 2 games and they've won 8 of their last 10. They trail the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns both by a game and a half for the top of the conference. With this loss, the Denver Nuggets are now 18-18. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 2 games and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They trail the Warriors and the Suns by 10.5 games in the conference. Taking a look now at what's going down in Portland, the Trailblazers hosted the Miami Heat. The Heat will go on to beat the Trailblazers 115-109 as the Heat win this matchup by 6. They outscored the Trailblazers by a combined 11 points in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Trailblazers would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Anthony Simons. He finished with 28 points, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Norman Powell, finished with 26 points in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 9 for 10 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Miami Heat were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Maxi Strus. He finished with 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 31 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field and 7 for 13 from 3. With this win, the Miami Heat are now 24-15. That is the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference as they've won 7 of their last 10. They trail the first place Chicago Bulls by 3 games in the conference. With this loss, the Portland Trailblazers are now 14-23. That is the fourth worst record in the Western Conference, as they've lost 7 of their last 10. They trail the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers by 4.5 games outside of the playoff race. Last but not least, jumping out to Sacramento, the Kings hosted the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks would end up beating the Kings 108-102. They won this matchup by 6 after they outscored the Kings by 9 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting point guard, De'Aaron Fox. Fox finished with 30 points and 6 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 12 for 23 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting point guard out of Iowa State, Tyrese Halliburton, finished with 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals in 38 minutes. Halliburton shot 8 for 16 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench, Kevin Huerter. Huerter would go on to finish with 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field, and he would shoot 4 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 17-20. That is the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they've won 4 of their last 10. They trailed the 8th seed Charlotte Hornets by 2 games outside of the playoff picture. And with this loss, the Sacramento Kings are now 16-24. That is the 5th worst record in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They trailed the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers by 4 games in the conference. That's what the NBA is looking like from yesterday's games. Taking a look at what's going on today, of course, starting with the primetime matchups, because today is Thursday. They will be on TNT. At 7:30, the New York Knicks are going to host the Boston Celtics on TNT. They both are sporting 18-20 records. They are tied for the 10th best record in the East. Following that, at 10 o'clock, the Phoenix Suns, who are tied with the Warriors for the best record in the West, are going to host the LA Clippers, who are holding the 8th seed in the West as of right now. And then outside of those games, at 8 o'clock, the Memphis Grizzlies are going to host the Detroit Pistons, and the New Orleans Pelicans are going to host the Golden State Warriors, who are tied with the Suns for the best record in the West. Last but not least, taking a look at what's going on in soccer, looking at yesterday's Carabao Cup matchup, Chelsea hosted Tottenham and was able to pull off the first win leg 2-0, as their first goal came from their elite German center attacking mid, Kai Havertz. And then, of course, just to remind you that this is the first leg of the semifinal, and even though the game is going to be played in London, the second leg will be hosted by Tottenham. And then looking at what's going on with the Spanish Copa del Rey, and this being the round of 32, Barcelona would win their matchup versus Linares Deportivo 2-1. Their first goal coming from Ousmane Dembele, their second coming from Ferran Jugla. In addition to Barca's win, Real Madrid was able to beat Alcoyano 3-1. Their 3 goals coming from Militao, Asensio, and a Juan Jose own goal. So both of these teams will advance to the round of 16. And then taking a look at the matchups that are going to be taking place today, continuing on with the Spanish Copa del Rey. Atletico Madrid is going to face off against Rayo Majadahonda. Sorry if I butchered that name. And then in Serie A, looking at those matchups today, Inter Milan, the reigning Serie A champs, are going to face off against Bologna. AC Milan is going to face off against AS Roma at 12:30. Juventus is going to face off against Napoli, as those are 2 of the top teams in Serie A as well. And that's virtually everything I have for you. And I want to thank everyone once again for tuning in to all 28 minutes of this piece. But I also want to thank the ESPN, NCAA, NBA, NFL, and FIFA websites for everything, for all the stats and numbers that I needed in order to do this episode. And of course, if I butchered the players' names, I really do apologize. I do plan on getting them right as we navigate through this world of sports one day at a time. But with that said, once all of today's matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Friday, January 7th. But until then, I want to thank everyone one last time. And I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.